Hi, welcome to Let's Talk. My name is Nick Cosgrove, and I'm joined today by my good friend Ritchie. Ritchie, how
Hey,
you doing today?
I'm amazing, man. Thank you so much for having me. This is an absolute honor, Nick.
No, thank you for coming on. You and I go back quite a long ways. I think we go back well over 15 years. Known each other since about 2005.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Well, why don't we start off and let's tell everyone who you are and what you do for a living.
My name is Ritchie Yip, and I teach martial arts for a living, and I also own two gyms, one in downtown Vancouver and the second one in Burnaby.
How old were you when you started getting into martial arts, when you first started?
My very first martial arts class was 2 weeks after my 21st birthday.
Okay.
Yeah.
And when did you start teaching martial arts?
I started teaching really young, Nick. I started teaching, I think the very first class I ever taught, I was 23.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
just 2 years of training under your belt, and
yeah.
that's when you started. Wow.
It was it was a really interesting set of situations that led to me teaching so quickly. The very first thing was that I was working as a welder at the time. So it was my very first job out of high school, like my first real job.
Right.
And I was a welder.
Okay.
And as well, I lived with my parents.
Okay.
And so I lived in my parents' basement. And I would weld, and then I would live with my parents, and I had like a disposable income, a large disposable income, because I didn't have any bills
No
and
expenses.
no expenses. And I bought a nice truck, and then I just spent all of my money on martial arts. Like I
Oh, okay.
had multiple instructors. I had private lessons with all these different instructors. I trained at different schools, and I trained as much as I possibly could.
Wow.
And so it was just I just had all this time and all this money, and I just focused on martial arts. That was it. And
So it doesn't sound like much from, starting at 21 and teaching at 23, but it sounds to me like, you probably put in thousands and thousands of hours during those 2 years of on-floor experience.
I put in a lot of time, Nick.
Yeah.
It probably wasn't thousands and thousands of hours. It was a lot of time.
Okay.
It was a certain set of circumstances as well.
Okay.
It was the school that I was attached to. It was the school was called Creative Fighters Guild, CFG, Creative Fighters Guild. They were a they they were a Jeet Kune Do school. So Jeet Kune Do is a martial art invented by Bruce Lee. And historically, he was one of the very first like MMA fighters, in the sense that before Bruce Lee, there was karate, there
Okay.
was jujitsu, there was kendo, and nobody just did everything.
Right.
And Bruce Lee started to study all these different martial arts.
Okay.
And then the school that I studied with, they were a Jeet Kune Do school, and there weren't that many students.
Right.
It was a very small school.
Okay.
And thus, I was able to go and graduate through that school relatively quickly. So within 2 years, I was actually one of the senior students,
Oh, wow. Okay.
right? So if there was thousands of students, there would have been like, hundreds of senior students.
Right.
But because there was only a handful of students doing this really kind of obscure art, and back then, the term MMA, like mixed martial arts, didn't exist.
Didn't exist. Okay. Right.
Nobody called it mixed martial arts.
Right.
And then my instructor at the time, Tim Shears, Tim, he wanted to open up his own school, and he went off and he opened his own school in Vancouver, and we were all training at Creative Fighters Guild
Okay.
at the time. And that was run by Trevor Clarkson, another instructor of mine who was our senior instructor.
Right.
Right? So my instructor Tim, he was just like, I want to have my own school, and he went off and started up his own school, but he still had a day job, Nick.
Oh, okay. Was it
And
in the martial arts industry or was it something
no,
completely
no,
separate?
no,
Oh, okay.
totally
Interesting.
separate. He sold software. So
Oh,
he was
wow.
in sales,
Okay.
and he would be really tired
Right.
from working all day, and then he'd be tired and he couldn't teach, and he'd be like, Richie, teach class. And I'm like,
Oh, okay.
Like, what? What are you talking about? Like, I'm this 23-year-old kid. Like,
Right,
I'm
right.
going to teach class. And at 23, I remember teaching classes, like 20 people in a class.
Wow.
And most of the students,
Yeah,
were older than me.
really. So you
Yeah.
were just kind of thrown into it. You weren't given a textbook or anything. You were just like,
I was,
Ritchie, teach. Just go in and teach.
I was 100% thrown into it.
Okay.
And everything, Nick, I was just thrown into. Like,
Right.
that has been the course of my life.
Okay.
And I know that you had sent me some topics that you want to discuss, but since we're on this thread,
Mhm.
I was thrown into just teaching. I was thrown into just opening up my own gym,
Right.
right? Like, so the story is that Tim wanted to open his own school,
Okay.
and I started teaching for him.
Right.
Eventually, as the years went by, he was like, Ritchie, just start teaching martial arts for a living. And I did.
Okay.
And I just started teaching martial arts for a living. And I became his instructor. I was working for him.
You were the head instructor. You're
Yes.
probably the only instructor, one of the main ones.
He was the head instructor.
Okay.
He was the head instructor for his school.
Okay.
I taught, I was going to say I taught most of the classes. I taught a lot of the classes. I would say near the end of our relationship, I taught at least half of the classes that the school offered.
Right.
And then in 2005, me and Tim had a falling out.
Okay.
Kicked me out of his gym.
Really?
Kicked me out. Like, get out of my gym. You know, you're stealing students from me. And the gym business is a tough business,
Right.
right? And ultimately, Tim wasn't making enough money to keep his gym afloat,
Okay.
right? And he accused me of stealing students. He accused me of, and don't get me wrong, right? I didn't do, if I'm not an angel, I did the best I could at the time. And really, Nick, right? I look back and I would have dealt with that whole situation a lot differently. And I would have given Tim a lot more money,
Really?
right?
Okay.
I think it would have salvaged the relationship, or
Yeah.
at least it would have made it a lot better.
Okay.
Regardless, he kicked me out,
Okay.
right? And then I was on my own,
Can
right?
I just ask you, during this
Mhm.
time when you're kicked out, what about all your clients that you were training?
I had a bunch of private students.
Okay.
They all stayed with me.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Um, all of the group class students that I was teaching for Tim, they all stayed with Tim.
Right. Okay.
And then in, so then I just kept on going. I taught out of my home, right? I just taught out of my home. I didn't have a gym to train in. And I think that's where you and I met, because that's when I started teaching at Pantheon.
Right.
So for those listening who don't realize, there was a gym on Hornby. I think it's Studio 55 now.
It is. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, so Studio 55.
Hornby and Smythe. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, Hornby and Smythe. And years ago, it was called Pantheon, and that's where Nick and I met. And I was teaching martial arts from there. And then Nick was one of the most popular personal trainers in that gym.
That's nice of you to say.
Absolutely, it was, right. And we always got along, and
We always got along.
super professional,
Right.
and we always had a great relationship. You were always really nice to me.
Well, as were you. Now, so you took some of your private clients from your previous location to Pantheon. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm. That's
Okay.
correct.
And so then what happened? Go ahead.
So started building up my group classes, and we got pretty good. Like, the school became really, really strong, Nick.
You were really
Right?
busy. I remember that.
Yeah, like we got pretty busy, and then Pantheon shut down.
Just like that.
Just like that. Like, it just, like, out of nowhere. And you were there, right? Yeah. And it totally shut down. And I remember, Nick, the day that it shut down. It was November 22nd, 2010.
Right.
Right? It was November. And I remember that date. And it's so specific in my head, because I remember that in November 22nd, I remember, like, December is right around the corner.
Right.
And December 1st, I was going to make more money than I had ever made in my life, because there were so many students in the school, and I was blown away And I remember teaching like an amazing set of group classes that night and just feeling on top of the world, and I was crushing it. And then I was leaving the gym.
Yes.
I was leaving Pantheon, and I remember leaving the gym, and all the pictures on the wall
Yeah.
at Pantheon were all taken off.
Yes.
They were all taken off.
I remember that.
And then Costa, the owner of the gym, pulled me into his office and told me the gym was closing down, and I was absolutely heartbroken.
And just to piggyback on that, we didn't get really much notice at all. I think we were given about less than 24-hour notice. Is that correct? Would you
Yeah.
say? Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, at that point, so the gym goes belly up. We don't have any notice. What do you do?
Well, it was a pretty tough situation, right? I'm sure it was really tough for you, but it was certainly tough for me.
Sure.
And I sat and I waited, and I got some help. Some people really helped me out. There was a gym on Georgia Street. It's called the Georgia Athletic Club.
Right. Dan's the owner
Dan,
of that gym.
Dan, you know
I know
Dan. Okay,
Dan.
so
Dan's a nice guy.
yeah, good guy. And so he helped me out. There was he had a little studio,
Okay.
and I ran my group classes out of there.
Right.
And time went by, and then in April 2011, one of my students called me and said, Ritchie, there's a gym on Granville Street, Granville and Hastings, and it's available for lease. And I'm like, no, okay, I can't do it. It's too big. It's too expensive. And so I had a lot of doubts, but regardless, I looked at the space, and the video of me looking at this space is actually on my Facebook, where
I've seen
it
it.
was, yeah, you've seen it.
I've
It's
seen
like,
it. Yeah.
yeah. It's just a mess. The lights don't work.
Right.
There's concrete everywhere. And that was in April. I wind up taking that space. I signed the lease, and we were open in May.
Wow.
And in
Wow.
1 month.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's the gym that Tim Shears kicked me out of 5 years previously.
Really?
Yeah.
So was it a gym prior to you taking it over, or was it another
It was a gym.
location?
It was a gym.
It was a gym. Okay.
It was so Tim opened up that gym.
Right.
He did all the renovations.
Okay.
He put in the bathrooms.
Yeah.
He got all the business licensing put up. And then he kicked me out of that gym, and eventually that gym just went under.
Right. Okay.
Right. And it sat vacant for a while.
Start weekend. Okay.
Yeah.
I
And
thought
then,
it was maybe to tell a showroom or something for a period
no,
of time.
it wasn't entirely vacant. Pardon me.
Okay.
It wasn't entirely vacant. For a while there, it was a show center for the Shangri-La.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, for the Shangri-La building. So they used it as a show center.
Wow. It's kind
Yeah.
of ironic how you've come full circle and back to that gym, and now it's your gym.
Yeah, it is absolutely insane. And Nick, I remember when Tim kicked me out.
Yeah.
And I was taking the SkyTrain home, and I was crying. I just didn't know what I was going to do.
Sure.
Right? I put so much work into teaching. I've sacrificed, everything, and I had no idea how I was going to be able to go and triumph over this. And then 5 years later, right, I wind up opening up my own gym, and it's the space that Tim Shears kicked me out of. And if you had a time machine, Nick, and you would have told me, if you were to get on that SkyTrain and said, Ritchie, it's okay. You work hard, and you're dedicated, and you care about your students, and if you keep on going, this is all going to work out. And
Right.
if you would have told me that, I never would have believed you.
Right.
Right. And you just, Nick, you just kind of keep on going.
Sure.
Right. And then you keep on going, and then like Tim Shears will kick you out, and then you keep on going, and then Pantheon shuts down.
Yeah.
And then you keep on going, and then you wind up getting your own gym, and it used to be like your previous owner's gym, your previous employer's gym.
Yeah.
And then there's a COVID crisis,
Right. Yeah. You
You know?
definitely had a few setbacks.
Yeah. Yeah.
What gave you the kind of the confidence to just open up your own gym though, like that?
Well, I look at it,
Yeah.
and it has never been for me this rabid, insatiable sense of self-confidence. It
Okay.
has never been like that. It's
Okay.
never been like that. And for me, more than anything else, it was just one haphazard incident after another. It
Right.
is like I look at it as I'm the Forrest Gump of martial arts, in the sense that just random things, like, there's Elvis, and then all of a sudden, like, there's the president, and like,
Right.
I've been the Forrest Gump of martial arts, in the sense that random things have just happened and I was in the right place.
Right.
Now, having said that, it also means that there was just me just keeping going. Like, I just kept on going. It was, Nick, I look at it as like yourself. You have an amazing physique. You're a bodybuilder. You're very accomplished. But
Yeah.
what does it take to do that?
Right.
You just wake up, cook your food, eat your food,
Yeah. It's
right?
routine.
It's
Yes.
just routine. You
Right.
go, you do legs. You
Right.
go, next day, you do arms. It is just routine. You keep on going. It is boring. And then all of a sudden, you have this amazing physique and you're a bodybuilder. And
Sure. So you're
it's
applying those principles to business. Just you keep
absolutely,
going no matter what the setback is. You just find a way and you keep pushing forward.
it is. That's all it is.
Tell me what that first year in business was like running your own gym.
It was really tough, Nick. It was very, very difficult. I had that first year was one of the darkest years, right? It was, so that year I had, so I was a welder, and then I went back to school, and I had ambitions to be a high school teacher. Now, I hated school, and then I quit school, and that's when I became a martial arts instructor.
Right.
All right. And so, as a martial arts instructor, starting off, yes, I was teaching classes for Tim,
Right.
but I was making very little money. And I had private students, but I only had like maybe 4 or 5 private students.
Yeah.
And because I was in school, because I went back to school, I went back to living with my parents.
Okay.
So I was sleeping in the bedroom that I slept in as a teenager.
Right.
Okay. And as well, that same year that I quit school and then started teaching for a living, my mom passed away. She had a very long battle with lung cancer.
Right.
So in 2004, my mom passed away. And in that year, I was trying to make my business grow, but I didn't know how to do it.
I see.
I had a handful of students, but it was maybe an hour or two of teaching a day. On a busy day, it was 3 hours of teaching. It
I see.
wasn't very much, and it wasn't very much. It wasn't very much money. And I was living at home, and my dad was living in the house, and my dad had no idea what I was trying to do. Like, he could not understand it. He
Yeah.
didn't understand. Like, my dad is an unbelievably hardworking man.
Right.
Like, he was a janitor and slaved for 35 years so that way me and my 2 sisters could have a middle class upbringing.
That's
And
impressive.
he worked
Yeah.
unbelievably. Both of my parents did.
Right.
Both of my parents worked unbelievably hard.
Good work
And
ethic.
absolutely. And my dad did not understand he was like, people pay you. People pay you, and you tell them what to do.
I know.
How does that even make sense?
My dad said the same thing to me.
Really? Oh, that's so funny.
Yeah.
That's so funny. And my dad didn't understand it, so he was not very supportive.
Okay.
And he would see me, just on the couch. I didn't know how to build a business. I didn't know how to do stuff like this.
Right. Right.
Do interviews and to create content that had value for a potential audience who
Sure.
could eventually lead to a potential client base. Like, I didn't know how to do it.
Sure.
So I did my best by reading books and learning as much as I could. But what my dad saw was just me on the couch with a book.
Right.
Like, I wasn't making money. I wasn't working. He didn't understand what I was doing. So it was really difficult, Nick.
Oh,
It
I bet.
was unbelievably difficult. And yeah, it was like crawling out of a black hole. Like I was just just devastated with my mom passing away. I had very little self-esteem, even though it was rather ironic, because here I am as a martial arts instructor, and one of the reasons why people do martial arts is to establish self-esteem. That's one of the benefits.
Right.
That's one of the benefits. And a lot of people will be like, yeah, I just want to work on my self-confidence when they start martial arts.
Yeah.
And here I was as a martial arts instructor, and my self-esteem was just shattered. My reality of the world was just flipped upside down because of the passing of my mom, and I wasn't making any money, and I'm trying to build this business, but I just didn't know how to do it, and I wasn't sure of myself. But you keep on going, Nick, and you crawl on your belly.
Sure.
You keep on going, and then 5 years later, you open up your own gym.
Right.
And then 3 years after that, you open up your second gym.
Well, that's what I want to get to next. You don't have one gym, you have two gyms, and two fairly successful gyms.
Thank you.
So
And
how do you manage two gyms?
well, firstly, I have a great team, right? So there's no way you can do this with just by myself. So I have an amazing team of people, and all of them, like Ian and Blair and Tom and Migo and everybody, and Michael, and everybody's so amazing.
They're great guys.
Everybody is they're absolutely, and I'm very fortunate that these people just came my way.
But I want to interrupt you for a second, because that also shows the type of employer that you are, because all these people have stayed loyal to you. They still work with you. It's not like one of those, corporate America gyms where you have high turnover. I mean, you've had the same group of guys with you for 5-10 years.
And I'm very grateful for that. And I'm exceptionally grateful for that. And the thing is that, Nick, I look at my mom passing away, and I look at the relationship that I had with Tim Shears, and what that ultimately has taught me is that you can do the best you can. You genuinely try your best to forge good relationships with people, and you try to be as real as possible. You try to be as truthful and respectful as possible. And the thing is that sometimes it works out where people stay with you, right? You have friendships that last for decades,
right?
And you have great people like my team, like Blair and Ian and Tom and Migo, and people who will stay with you for years and years.
Even through this.
Yeah. But sometimes, Nick, it doesn't work out.
Yeah.
That's just life. Sometimes you can be as open and as honest, and you work super hard, and you try to be as transparent as possible, and it just blows up in your face.
Right.
And then that's just the world. That's just the way it is. And and you just have to find acceptance for that. And I think that leads a lot to the circumstances that we're in right now with the COVID crisis, in the sense that you can work as hard as you possibly can to build your business and to provide value for your clients and to be of service to everyone around you. And then all of a sudden there's a pandemic.
Yeah.
And then there's nothing you can do about it.
Right.
And you just have to be accepting of those circumstances.
And it's funny you bring up COVID-19, because I do think businesses like yours and mine will actually survive this. Small businesses where we have that loyal clientele base, we love our clients, and our clients love us. So, I mean, I know the name of every single person that walks through those doors. I know your clients. I know a lot of your clients, and they've been with you for well over a decade. How are you able to sustain such, not only a vast clientele base, but how are you able to sustain that loyalty for so long?
I'm not really sure. Right. So thank you. So thank you so much, Nick. I really thank you for recognizing, right? Or thank you for acknowledging that.
You don't
I'm
know the
really,
secret.
well, I mean, firstly is that once again, there's absolutely no guarantees
Right.
with anything.
Yeah.
You can just, you do your best. You try to, you you can be the best trainer on the planet.
Mm-hmm.
Care about your clients, and they can still be completely dissatisfied with the
Right.
service.
Yeah.
And then that's just the way it is,
That's
right? You can be the absolute best, uh, friend, daughter, son, husband. You can be you can genuinely do your best.
Yeah.
And sometimes people they're just not happy with you for whatever reason.
Right.
Right. And sometimes you genuinely screw up and you apologize, you try to make amends. Um, um, but sometimes it always doesn't work out. Right. So right away, I I think the one thing is that I try to say hello to every single person. It's a part of leadership, right? Leaders are first. That's the term that defines the term. To lead is to be first. Be the first to say hello. Be the first to smile. Be the first to make eye contact. Be the first to introduce yourself.
Yes.
Be first. And
100%.
I genuinely do my best. Sometimes it's like impossible, right? There's busy nights in the gym.
There
It
is.
feels like it's a nightclub. There's so many people in the gym,
Yes.
and sometimes you can't say hi to every single person.
No.
I genuinely do my best.
But a friendly smile goes a long way.
I think it does. I think it does. Right.
What type of clients do you guys work with primarily, would you say?
Oh, well, I think just to look at the demographic, people who work in the downtown area. So the downtown gym location is huge. So you have to be able to walk, right? Most of the clients, most of our students live and or work really close to the gym. So I think that's number one.
Okay.
I think from personality base, I think people are, they, they want to become better people. Like, I think ultimately we don't have a martial arts school. We have a self-development business. And a lot of people, yes, they want to get fit. Yes, they want to learn something cool. Yes, they want to go and hang out with some like-minded individuals.
Right.
Yes, they want all those things. But if you boil it all down, they want to be better people. They're looking to grow.
Yes.
They're looking to expand who they are. They want to facilitate every single aspect of their personality, every
Right.
single corner of their personality. They want to explore that. And I think martial arts is just, one way for them to be able to do that. Right. So I look at that. I look at our students, and they not only are generally they're already pretty healthy. Like already most people that come into the gym, they already work out.
Right.
Right.
Yes.
That's not always, some people, like, they're very honest. It's just like, oh man, like, I do not work out at all.
Yeah.
I need to
Yeah.
start. Right. And we have had that.
You
We
have.
have had that, and we've had some success. Generally people are like already pretty good athletes. Like they play hockey. They're just bored with hockey.
Right.
They play soccer, they play rugby, they've been good athletes all their lives, and now they're just looking for something different.
You know what's interesting is I work alongside a lot of your team, and one thing I noticed with your industry with the martial arts and my industry with the bodybuilding, bodybuilders have egos. They do. A
Sure.
lot of them are prima donnas.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is, but whenever I talk to a fighter, whether it's jiu-jitsu or anything with MMA, any of that stuff, these guys don't seem to have egos. They're very just nice, genuine people. What do you guys teach?
Okay.
How do you develop that mindset?
Okay. So, firstly, what I say is that I have a humongous ego. I just do my best to hide it. I'm just better at hiding it better than anybody
Okay.
else.
Yeah.
So thank you. Those are some very kind words. I think, firstly, I think I've just been really lucky with attracting a lot of just great people. I think
It's
that's
the
the key
vibe.
thing.
It's
Yeah,
just
it's
the
the vibe.
vibe.
We have a great vibe
Yeah.
in both gyms. Just everybody's so friendly. Everybody's just so nurturing. You can just feel it right away, and it's really cool. Right. So I'm very fortunate with that. I think that martial arts is great for the ego just because there's so much truth to it. And Bruce Lee said years ago it was an interview, I think it was like in the early 70s. It's an amazing interview. It's black and white. You can see it on YouTube. The interviewer asks Bruce Lee, "What is a martial art?" And Bruce Lee responds with, "A martial art is a way for me to express myself honestly."
Oh,
And so with social media, you can create a fictitious life.
right.
You really can.
You can.
Okay.
Yes.
And you can, like if we hang out, I can talk about how I could be boastful, I could lie, and it'd be really difficult for you to prove me wrong. It'd be
Right.
really, really, really difficult.
It
Okay.
is. Yeah.
And the thing is with martial arts is that let's look at it from in terms of weight training.
Okay.
A deadlift. A deadlift is truth,
Right.
meaning that either the weight comes up off the ground or it doesn't. That's it. Like there's no, you can't lie. You can't, like you can't be, it's not like biceps curls where you can swing the weight.
Right. Use momentum.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Use momentum. It's just like you lift it or you don't.
Or you don't.
And with martial arts, you when you spar, there's an enormous amount of truth that comes out. You get tapped out or you don't, and there's this honesty that comes out of it. There's this honesty, and you're losing so much. There's so much you basically you just have to love failure when you're doing martial arts. And I think it can also be associated with weight training, because you got to love the failure, right? Because you're trying to achieve failure, right? Like you when you're doing sets, you are reaching to the point of fatigue where it's like, oh man, if you can do 100 reps, this is like, man, the weight's probably too light, right?
Right.
And so you have to love failure.
Okay.
You have to love it.
Yeah.
And it makes you humble.
Right.
And it's just like you get kicked in the teeth, like actually,
Yeah.
literally.
Yeah.
And you just have to, endure it. And the same thing with business. The most brilliantly orchestrated business plan can still fall apart.
And still.
The most perfectly designed marketing campaign can earn you a negative amount of money.
Right.
Right. And you just have to be okay with it. You just have to be. There's no other way.
Right.
Right. And
well, you brought up social media, and I actually want to switch gears for a second. I know for a fact that you actually have some online tutorial videos. I've seen them.
Oh, thank you.
Tell me a bit about that. Do you guys offer online services as well?
Great job segueing into what we're trying to do right now. So we right now we're trying to, because of the COVID thing, to do some online stuff, but we're right now just trying to figure it out. We are flopping around like a fish on a dock trying to figure this out.
I think everyone is, though. It's all trial and error. Even Megan and I are doing that right now.
Yeah. I think that's just where everybody is right now.
It's a hard transition.
It's a hard transition. Now, I've had a YouTube channel since 2008. Okay. And it was filmed in my apartment. Right. You can tell. It's just like, this is just some dude's apartment doing YouTube video. And like, yeah, there you go. Right. Yeah. So I was doing YouTube videos in 2008, and it is to build, the main reason why I do it, Nick, is that it is a platform for me to build trust. So that way, when somebody walks into my school, right, and I introduce myself, yeah, it should feel like they know me already. Right.
But how do you do that through, sorry to interrupt, but how do you do that through an online service?
Okay, so on YouTube, like I have, I don't even know how many, like hundreds of videos on YouTube on jiu-jitsu and kickboxing. Right. And it is my hope that my potential students, like let's just say that there's somebody out there that is interested in martial arts, and they're like, oh, I hear that Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is a good martial art to learn. And so they'll go to YouTube and they'll just search like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu basics or, kickboxing tips or something. And then right away, they'll hopefully see some of my videos.
Right.
And then they'll watch them and they're like, oh, this is actually pretty cool. I was like, oh, I learned something here. And then they're like, let's just see if there's a local martial arts school. And then they'll discover that there's a martial arts school that's a 5-minute walk away from their work.
Right.
And then they keep on looking. And then they're like, the owner and one of the instructors is this dude that I've seen on YouTube.
They recognize you, right?
They'll recognize me. And then when they come into the gym, they're like, hey, I know you.
Yeah.
I've seen you on YouTube.
Yeah.
And not all of my students, but most of them have seen me on YouTube before.
Right. Okay.
They've met me in the gym. Yeah. And that establishes just a sense of trust, and it helps to dissolve fear.
Okay.
And when people ask me what my main competitor,
yeah,
like who's your main competitor?
Right.
And like Nick, my main competitor isn't the martial arts school that's down the street. My main competitor is fear.
Right.
People are fearful, or certainly I am.
That's the best competitor to have, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I'm scared. Like I'm scared of learning something new. Like I'm scared of looking stupid. I'm scared of looking foolish. I'm scared of going to a new gym, a new martial arts school. Like I've been doing martial arts for, I don't even know how old, like let me just do the math, like 23 years now.
Sure. Yeah.
Right? I've been doing martial arts for 23 years now. And when I go into a new martial arts gym,
right,
even if I know the owner, there's a bit of anxiety.
Sure.
Right? There's certain expectations that, like people may have, and hopefully I can meet them. And there's this self-identity issue. And so I have anxiety. I
think we all do a little bit.
Yeah.
You're at least admitting it. Ritchie, I could do this all day with you. I'd love to do actually a part 2 with you on this, because you've got great insight to not just the fitness world, but also the business. And like I said, you have established yourself in the fitness industry.
Oh, thank you, man. I do my best.
If someone wanted to get in contact with you guys, what would be the best way to do
that? Through the website, Nick. Okay. Through the website, infighting.ca. You can just Google like InFighting, INFIGHTING Vancouver, or you could just Google Ritchie or Martial Arts Vancouver. We'll show up.
Great. I'll put all your contact information in the link below to this video so people can get in contact with you guys. And during the COVID-19 crisis, InFighting is offering online services. Yeah. So, I mean, for those of the people who are looking for, maybe Zoom workouts or anything like that, I know one of your team members, Ian, who I know very well, has been offering that right now. Yeah. So we're going to put in the description the link to all that information below. And I'd love to get you back on for a part 2, though, at some point.
Yeah, I'd love that, Nick. Good. Thank you so much for offering this, man.
No, thank you so much. I'd love to. Ritchie, I'm going to have to let you go, but for sure. I look forward to talking to you again, and I'm sure I'll see you very soon. Well, you and I work together, so I will see you soon.
Man. Definitely, we will. All right.
All right, Ritchie, you have a great day.
Man.
Thanks so much.
You as well. Thank you. Bye-bye.